Most people have an early memory of their mother, a dreamlike image, a string of words, a touch. I remember my mother singing to me. She's singing a playful song, waving at me, smiling at me, singing sounds she could not know, rhythmic, awkward, and sweet. And then I look up to meet the face connected to these sounds. I look at her, I study her, and in one moment, she knew that I knew that she sounded different. And she stopped. My parents are both 65 years old and have been deaf their whole lives. The sound of my voice is as foreign to them as color is to the blind.
But don't go there.
But to look at their lives recorded in Dad's old silent movies, you'd never know they weren't hearing a thing. For Mom and Dad, words have always existed as lip reading and sign language. My mom, Sally, has always been a chatterbox. She's probably the only deaf person ever to be named gossip editor of her high school newspaper. Even if you can't sign to her, she'll do a great job at reading your lips. My dad, Paul, is more reserved. He's an engineer by training, a professor by trade, and the smartest person I know. For 65 years, Mom and Dad learned to adapt. But then, just as they were about to retire, they bought an old house in an abandoned apple orchard on Lake Ontario and announced a bold move. They were getting cochlear implants, a breakthrough surgery that after a lifetime of silence could give them the ability to hear.
Maybe in the beginning of the year, be able to hear something.
I have to admit, I was unnerved by their choice. After this surgery, who will they be? Will they still be deaf people? Or hearing people? Or will they be something in between? What if the implant doesn't work? What if one of them can hear and the other one can't? Mom and Dad are just really good at being deaf people. So why risk failing? At this point, why here now?
You don't feel anything yet. Maybe next week, the morning after surgery, probably like it.
people ask me what it's like not to hear the environment. I don't even think about it. I was born deaf, and I'm really easy, quiet world, silent world, and I just walk and see everything with my eyes.
All my life, I've watched my parents imagine the world of sound. Dad tries to see it. Mom tries to touch it.
Then okay, if I turn off the radio, it's not going to be too loud for you. Okay?
I search the 7 seas and under the carpet. I browse through the bushes.
It may look like she's hearing, but it's actually the vibration of heavy metal that Mom loves.
It's just hanging around, doing nothing. I looked up to see his face burn in the retina of your eyes.
Dad doesn't pay much attention to the radio, but he loves a good conversation while driving.
Sometimes I use my knee to hold the steering wheel, and then I use my thumb to go over the keys. I just talk to Mom. Thank God I have my thumb, and I just go on back and forth, and I have to keep my eye on the road, and I have to quiet from typing. So it takes some coordination, but after a little practice, you get the hang of it.
Too loud, right?
They have to learn to hear, you know. They have to learn. I don't know how they're going to do that. Learn to hear.
How long will it take them to operate on you?
3 hours.
1 hour?
2, 3.
3 hours?
When it comes to communicating with hearing people, my parents have always worked as a team.
I walked out of the office.
She didn't put it on for you?
And I said,
Take a typical trip to Granny and Papa's house, Mom's parents.
therapist might put it back on you.
Mom's a better lip reader.
I can't see anything. I'm over here.
But Dad has a voice that more people seem to understand, so they help each other out.
You know, you don't have inflection in your voice because you can't hear it.
I don't have inflection,
No.
but I thought I did.
Well, you do, but it's not. Does she or doesn't she? I don't know.
Because I don't have inflection in my voice.
Well, when you get to the eye,
Okay?
That's what I say. I think that'll be the greatest thing for you. Best thing. Make you more understandable.
It was hard not to have high hopes for Mom and Dad. But still, I was amazed just how easy it was to get the surgery.
Hello. How are you?
Good morning. Nice to see you.
The doctor required no psychological testing, just routine medical exams. He had to be sure Mom and Dad's auditory nerve still worked after all these years. Insurance just about paid for it all.
Any other questions? So the surgery's about 3 hours. The trend is to make a smaller and smaller and smaller incision. And I have no qualms at all about you doing this. I think it's the right decision.
My parents decided Mom would go first. Dad would follow a few days later.
Now, sometimes people also have a little dizziness for a few days. Until you know how she's doing, you probably want to stay close to her and make sure that she's steady. Okay?
And you do the same thing for me.
Mom once told me that being deaf is like taking a lukewarm bath. You feel the water, but you never get the full sensation. I imagine the cochlear implant will be a bionic ear for Mom and Dad. After a life of silence, everything will soon be amplified. But will it be beautiful, or will it all just be noise?
Everything is so quiet. But they say I can hear saying, but what? I don't see anything to hear. But there are a lot of birds around here, so maybe I hear the birds crying. I guess, I don't know. I don't see anything right now. What you cannot hear, please go out. Does that make a sound? Does that make a sound? The dogs are looking at me, they hear something. I hear that. I hear it. But when I hear that, I get so mixed out of noise because the dogs are looking at me. They hear something, Maybe I hear that, I don't know.
Mom was almost 4 years old before her parents admitted to themselves that she couldn't hear.
I was so active that when my parents would call me up because I didn't hear them. But they didn't know that they thought I didn't want to hear them. Both of my parents, fathers, were doctors. Oh, she's fine, Sally's fine, there's nothing wrong with her. So it took another doctor to tell them that I was deaf.
He had an old-fashioned dinner bell, like they used to ring to bring children in from recess, and he rang that bell behind her, and she never turned around. And I heard, we knew then she was deaf.
Back in 1940, nobody knew what being deaf was like. After my mother found out I was deaf, the neighbors on the street where we lived, they would notice this young woman pushing me in a stroller, and she was crying eyes out, pushing me in the stroller up and down the street. They did not know what was wrong, so one of them came out to find out what happened. She told them that I was deaf, that I would never speak, I would never help. I lied, you know.
Most deaf kids back then were sent to state schools, where they were taught American Sign Language. But doctors urged my grandparents to try something different. So in the fall of 1943, my dad's mother put her 3-year-old son on a train from Alabama to St. Louis without her.
And then after the train left, I remember my mother was crying because she was not with me. She could not afford to go on the train with me.
2 days later, my dad joined a small group of students, including my mom, at the Central Institute for the Deaf, a private school internationally famous for teaching the so-called oral method.
Have you ever been to Chicago?
I understand you. You remember to use our new language. Good. There's an SH in Chicago.
Chicago.
Yes. Now get the accent right. Chicago.
So I have to learn what sound or how to make sound.
Chicago.
Chicago. Chicago.
Good speech.
Ba 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 ba.
Ba.
Ba. Ba.
Look at this. Turn around, Lynn.
Ba.
Have a pretty voice. Oh. Listen, Lynn. Oh. That's better.
Learning to sound, then forming words, then learning to speak words.
Look. Good. Turn around, Lynn.
So this very slow process of learning how to speak and further how to learn through feeling. So like they say, some. That's an easy way to learn.
As Mom's classmate, Dad spent months learning the same first word.
And then I remember coming home for Christmas when I got off the train and I said, thumb. I did not say Mom or Dad, I said thumb. And my mom was the first word my mom heard me speak. And I guess it made her realize that, yes, I'll be able to speak, although not perfectly. I'll be able to pick up speech, pick up words as I grow up. There was a third picture of the moon.
We had some classes where we turn around the piano, feel the vibration of the piano, and the teacher would play a low note. Tell us what is it, low or high, or play a high note, or middle note. Then she would teach us some okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we had to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I got that rhythm on me at a very young age.
Mom and Dad stayed at Central Institute for 10 years. They felt comfortable with their deaf classmates and made many friends. But then came the real test. They both entered public high school, Dad in Houston, Mom in St. Louis, without interpreters or any deaf friends.
And I think the first day when I did not call on, Mom came with me. Of course, I don't feel great about it because I'm sick of that at the classroom. So I call it, sit down at the front row. No, ain't nobody around me. That was scary. And some of the children will not talk to me. Why not? Don't know how to talk to a deaf person. I needed to be afraid.
I never really saw myself as a deaf person until I was at Burns High School. I remember the first year I was in some of my classes and I had my eye on a nice girl in the class and I made this comment to another girl. I like her, who is she? And she said, oh yes, she's cute, to want the phone number. And I thought, what can I do with the phone number? And then it just hit me, yes, you're different, you're not like the rest of the kids. Everybody uses the phone except me. so I dropped the whole thing.
Eventually, Mom just stopped telling people she was deaf. On the way to school, she'd get on the bus and flirt with a nod of her head to the driver, or a store clerk, or a cute boy across the way, without a hint. She even stood in the church choir and mouthed the words. Although she couldn't hear a single note, Mom found a way to make music a part of her life.
The cars, I had a record play, I got a record play, and I played the record. Now you feel the vibration, and I could pick up the beat. Then when I did my homework, I put my feet on the record play. I had the record play on the floor, put my feet on. So I had that music in me.
Dad went to college at Georgia Tech, where he joined a fraternity and earned a degree in engineering. He returned to St. Louis for graduate work, and when he heard Mom was still in town, he went to find her.
They began dating, and in just, I suppose, 6 months, they were engaged to be married. And if we had looked the world over, we couldn't found a better partner than Paul Taylor. And we were so pleased that Paul had the same training she had.
Now, Dad had Mom and a successful job as an engineer. But just like that girl back in high school, much of the hearing world still felt out of reach.
Everybody around me would use the phone all the time, and it really bothered me that I can't use the phone. How am I going to do anything? How am I going to accomplish anything?
Dad found the beginning of an answer to his problem at the 1964 World's Fair, where he took Mom for their first wedding anniversary. He was amazed to discover a new way to communicate with her, by picture phone. The picture phone was still far in the future, but when Dad got home, he started tinkering with old World War II teletype machines and soon discovered a way to turn them into telephones for the deaf. The TTY, as it soon was known, was nothing short of a revolution for my family and deaf people everywhere. Dad partnered with other deaf inventors, started a network of TTY users, and not long after, a telephone relay system. His inventions became the lifeline between people who could hear and those who couldn't.
We typed back and forth, and it just blew my mind. Here I am talking with someone 2,000 miles away. It's just like as if you've been trying to communicate with people from outer space. Then all of a sudden, you made the connection somewhere far, far away, like. I mean, it was just indescribable. Just blew my mind. Wow.
People were always kind of fascinated with how Mom and Dad did it all. Especially once my brother, my sister, and I came along. 3 kids who could hear. Dad jerry-rigged a light that turned on whenever we cried. It worked pretty well for all 3 of us, except that the doorbell, the alarm clock, and the telephone were connected to Dad's system too. So our house was always lighting up like a Christmas tree, with my parents running about to see if we were crying or if someone was just standing at the front door. If the light didn't work, Mom slept with her hand right on us, so if we cried, the vibration would wake her up.
People said, oh, how is it growing up with deaf parents? And I would always say, well, I don't know. They're the only parents I ever had. And I'm sure as a kid I would realize very quickly that crying or making sounds didn't do any good.
Just like our parents, David, Lucy, and I quickly learned to adapt. We all figured out pretty early you had to tap Mom or poke at Dad to get their attention. They relied on reading our little mouths, and we learned that the only way my parents could hear us was if they could see us. Understanding Dave was easy. He talked a lot. But when my sister Lucy came along, Mom and Dad had trouble reading her lips because she was so shy.
I do remember being scared in the middle of the night, and I couldn't call for my parents. And I remember in St. Louis, the bedroom was down the hall, and I remember waking up and being scared, but I was too scared to get out of bed. But you know, as a child, you don't really think of it as, oh, if they only could hear, I could call them. You don't see it as something your parents can't do. You don't look at it as my parents can't hear. You just look at it as this is just the way it is, you know?
Remember being a kid and thinking you were adopted? Not only did I think that, I was convinced my parents were CIA operatives, that they really could hear. They were just spying on us. Mom and Dad were such good lip readers, they could eavesdrop from 100 yards away. Police investigators and journalists used to hire Mom for surveillance operations. And Dad, he'd suddenly disappear for hours, tinkering in his workshop or holed away with his films in the darkroom. But the reality was much more complicated. For all of their accomplishments, there was always a certain vulnerability about Mom and Dad. And though I'd be lying if I said we never took advantage of it, never once was it easy when others did.
We were at church, walking through the parking lot. I think we were flying a kite or something. And we passed one of these kids that lived in the neighborhood that was kind of a troublemaker type of kid. And I remember as we walked past him, he said to his friends, "Hey, watch this." And he went up behind Dad and said, "Fuck you," right behind his back. And Dad, of course, just kept walking. And I was a lot younger than this kid, and he was a bully and a meanie, and I was too embarrassed or too afraid to say anything. So I didn't do anything either, and we just walked, and that was it. Never said anything.
David never told me that story, but I felt like I already knew it. Even now, 30 years later, there are times when Dad still gets left out. Maybe this is his chance to change all that.
The one thing I want to hear is something that will help me more than anything else. What will help me is have a good conversation. Yeah, it's possible I can make new friends. I could find myself navigated through some conversations with other people better. Well, it might give me more confidence, and with more confidence, I could maybe become a more bold person and do things that I would never dream of.
I still to try new things. I keep for something to do in life, and hearing people talk about all those things that requires hearing make me want to do something about it. Like now it seems that more and more people are going to concert, music, and I'm thinking, what is there for me to do?
I think there was one more reason why Mom and Dad wanted this change. It was so obvious, none of us even talked about it. It turns out, this experiment is more than just about hearing after a lifetime of silence. Just as they've done everything else for the last 60 years, it's about doing this together. What worries me is, will they make it together?
Father, we know this is a very important time in our lives, and we would hope and pray that the operation would be successful. Guide and bless the doctor, give him wisdom and skill, and may your will be accomplished in their lives. And we thank you through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
But it is the only sense, really, that can be restored. Can't do it with vision, can't do it with touch, certainly can't do it with sense of smell. I think that cochlear implantation is really the #1 medical advance of the 20th century. Some people would probably say, organ transplantation, but I think there's really no other procedure that you can do that restores a sense. Decision time, and thanks. I go to the dining room. Let's do our other little drops. That's how I want that to sit though, just running out like that. So just excellent. So it's nicely set. It's hard to see from where you are. There's a little hole right there. You can liken it to a microphone and a cable going to an amplifier. What most people have lost when they have severe hearing loss is the tiny little hair cells inside the cochlea. So it's like the microphone. Those little sensor cells aren't working. But the cable, the auditory nerve going to the amplifier, the brain, that still works. So if we can figure out a different way to stimulate the wire, if you will, that goes to the brain, then we can reproduce the auditory experience.
After 4 hours of surgery, the implant was in. But the doctors would have to wait a month for the swelling to go down before turning it on.
Yeah. What did I do? How did I do?
Everyone told me you were amazing, and
Why?
because you were so good going
I
in.
didn't do anything.
Dr. Wayman came out, and he said that the electrode went all the way in, so the surgery was as successful as possible.
Okay.
Dr. Roberts, 2744. Dr. Roberts, 2744. Dr. Hibisek, 2945. Dr. Hibisek, 2945.
I'm happy for you.
She doesn't look like she looked last night, does she?
Good.
She's happy. She's crying for she's happy. It's over. Doesn't look like Sierra crying.
One week later, it was Dad's turn. I hoped that they would both get what they wanted out of this. But at the time, it was so scary. Seeing them this way, I wondered if it was all really worth it. I think they did too. It's possible that in order to gain something from this, they'll have to give up a part of themselves, a part of all of us, in return. They've been daydreaming about sound their whole lives, just as I've always wondered what it would be like to have parents who could hear. But what if hearing now, finally, disappoints us all? The month we waited for the implant to be turned on was hard. Especially for Mom. She developed a complication in her inner ear, and Dad took care of her in a way I'd never seen before.
I'm getting a bit nauseated.
She's getting nauseated.
Turn me back.
I was beginning to worry that Mom was questioning what she'd done. But of course there was no turning back. All Mom and Dad could do now was wait it out.
Hello. How you doing? How was the ride here?
I slept.
You slept, okay. All right.
Emotion plays a big part in the process. Emotions.
A little.
Because yesterday I got really upset. But you say upset about anything.
It's okay. You've been through a lot. Okay? You've been through a lot. And Paul's been through a lot. So there's been a lot going on in your life right now. So it's okay. We'll get you feeling better, and then some of that will settle down.
I would like to throw up, but I can't. I feel like throwing up.
Finally, the day came to turn on the implants.
So they're here the first time, 65 years. Great.
You go first. I know you go first.
Doesn't matter at all to me.
Sir, can we all come in here?
You bet. I have nowhere other place to put you. I'll start soft and we'll raise it louder again, okay?
Mechanical sounds traveled by hardwire into Dad's brain. We couldn't hear them. But slowly, he could.
What does it sound like?
The top question is like hard to describe what green looks like, where the green fall.
We've been waiting for this for 65 years.
First time through, we're gonna just listen. I want to see if you can just hear my voice. You're not gonna understand it, but just see if you can hear my voice over all the noise, okay? Now, can you hear my voice? Is it too loud? Just surprising? What do you hear? Okay. Is it beeping at you? Is it like a beep or is it like a click? Go ahead and talk.
Hello? 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 Then makes a noise. Mary.
Not that loud.
Very nice, see? Can I need put carpet on the floor?
I could hear the water coursing through the pipe, like blood coursing through your veins.
I heard that part and first so high. Name's the fan network. Fan book. May I take my shower now?
Will you hear the shower?
No, because I'm taking this off. And can I go into the shower? So I have to turn it off and take it off. Now I'm deaf. I cannot hear anything. I cannot hear anything. I take out my hearing aid, but I also have a seat in my ears. I misplaced the cold tree. I can get it right, no problem. I'll cover it up. You can run my hair. Nothing. Fine. These external parts I have to take it off. So they took it right. Otherwise I have to pay $7,000. I cannot hear that.
Those first few days, Dad was like a kid in a candy store. He took his car to the wash not once, but twice in the same day.
I feel like I'm going through an amusement park ride. Through the tunnel of love. Like a wind, strong wind. Like a strong wind. Wow. Like an airplane taking off.
Everywhere I went with Mom and Dad, the pressure was on to hear.
Ready? 2, 3, go.
But I couldn't help but wonder how much they were really hearing. And how much they were just being good sports and playing along.
We're very excited. We think she's eventually going to hear more than she thinks she is.
I've got that running because I wanted to run. Don't turn it off.
I don't know.
Okay.
Someone can't.
Hot?
That's okay. I want it hot.
I said, do you want hot water?
Can I different good the different types of sound when people are talking. So when I hear Granny talking, or Papa talking, or talking, they all sound the same to me. I cannot tell the difference yet.
What'd you make, soup?
You know what?
That's perfect.
Sally.
This is the roses, and I was talking about the wild roses.
They're really loud. Wow. It's probably the first frequency I've ever experienced. It's too piercing. I'll be like, there's a hammer in my head, bang, bang, bang. Ooh.
How can I hear them here? What do you think confusing with what? I don't hear that.
They were in this together, but it was becoming increasingly clear. They weren't progressing together. Mom decided that Dad was doing better than she was. The doctor had warned us not to expect too much too soon.
Pardon, do you have turnips?
Turnips? Yes, we do. They're right here.
But Mom couldn't help herself.
Thank you.
In her eagerness to hear the day we went to the grocery store, Mom turned the volume on her implant all the way up. And all those ordinary noises, the ones most of us never pay attention to, overwhelmed the hardware in her head. So just like a circuit breaker, Mom's implant shut off.
I cannot hear anything. Can I? I'm sorry, don't ask me if I'm hearing anything because I'm not. I'm told that the store is very noisy. I'm surprised because people act like nothing. Apparently they're used to it. I don't see people straining to hear things. So I don't think it's that noisy. Am I right?
Frozen food, customer assistance in your department.
I don't hear anything right now. Hello!
Are you here?
Hello!
How you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm turning off.
Why, are you tired of it?
When that work, too much satisfaction, so I'm turning off.
What was it doing?
Don't ask me anything, I don't know why I don't work.
Well, what was it doing? Nothing?
Don't hear anything.
Huh?
Why there's so much noise, I cannot hear anything.
If you turn off your Christmas music, it might help Mom a lot.
Look, I didn't realize it's on. Pull it out over there on the wall, the dark cord.
When I do Hackmans, it was so noisy I could not hear anything.
How's Paul doing?
He hears things I cannot hear. He says to me, "Did you hear that?" I say, "No." He hears that I don't.
I didn't expect you to be able to just understand everything.
You're not understanding, hear it.
Hearing is, she's not
You
hearing.
can hear something.
It's just a long process. They told you it wouldn't happen overnight.
I'm frustrated because in the morning I can hear it, in the afternoon even nothing.
I'm sure it's a mechanical problem.
That means when I go out, I'm not gonna let it. It'll be a waste of time.
No, We're all excited and think it's wonderful. Sally, don't compare yourself with Paul. He's a man. You're a woman. And they think they know everything. He may be making half of that up. How do you know?
I feel kind of bad. All I can say is to her to hang in there, and maybe one day she will like it. Not in the context anything like that. If I progress faster, I wait for her to catch up. I mean, we just go about our natural abilities. If she's fast, she's fine. If I'm fast, that's okay. Eventually we'll be caught up with one another down the road, maybe a year.
I think I hear myself walking. If you make implant, I'll cut for that. To my cuffs cut, my hearing to walking, I don't know.
As I watch my mother struggle with all these new sounds, I realize that part of learning how to hear must be learning how not to hear, how to tune in what's relevant and tune out what you don't need or just don't want to hear. Mom hadn't learned to do that yet, so everyday tasks like driving were now a barrage of street noise, the rumble of the car, and the blaring sound of her own voice.
I took out my eyes and flying for me.
I kept telling Mom and Dad to follow the doctor's instructions and keep it on all the time. But it was just too easy to turn it off and go back to the familiar. In the car, Mom had already stuffed away her new $7,000 tool with her chewing gum. And Dad, he seemed to be in no rush to hear at all.
They're coming up. Come on.
Hello. Hi.
The doctor had warned us that a house full of sounds so soon after the implant was turned on might be too much sound too soon.
You can't hear.
We did.
But it was Christmas, and after the operation, we felt like celebrating.
Happy New Year.
Until you talk to me.
And of course, the gifts we were excited about giving were all about hearing.
I don't know.
Dad, come on. It's a sound system.
What?
So I don't get blown up.
Lily comes when you stop to call her. Lily runs when you look away. Lily leaves kisses on your collar. Lily, 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 stay. Lily comes.
For the first time, I watched my dad play air guitar.
Lily runs when you look away.
He could hear the music, and amazingly enough, could distinguish one instrument from another.
One day she passed him by, a twinkle in her eye. He said she was meant for me.
Mom was still having trouble. I don't think she was really hearing the music. I think she was just feeling the vibrations, like she always has.
Lily runs when you look away. Lily leaves kisses on your collar. Lily, 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 stay.
But not one to be left behind, Mom turned her implant all the way up. Eventually, her brain just got overloaded.
I think when it is high pitch, it runs around.
What's wrong?
I'm not hearing anything.
Over the next 24 hours, all that excitement, all that noise, all that pressure to hear kept building.
Are you okay? What's the matter?
Can I hear anything?
And then, in one single moment, Mom just fell apart.
Who's here?
Sorry, I did not realize you were.
I'm okay. Come on in. Because I just cannot handle all of things. Don't be worried me. The what people telling me I'm not wearing my CI all the time, like I said, okay, I put it on, but I cannot tolerate. And put things with the noise is driving me crazy. But I'm gonna take it off and throw it away. But then I see Daddy sitting there around, he's feeling, oh. When I put it on, I'm going crazy. It makes me upset. And you cannot take it. What more can I do? And I'm trying not to throw this away.
Right. Well, don't. Here. Don't throw it away. I'll hold on to it.
I think it's a huge pressure for her and Dad to be getting it at the same time. If one experiences something good and the other doesn't, you know, they probably feel a lot of stress, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety.
I can almost tell if she's happy or upset by the sound of the voice.
Better than pancake.
I can literally do so well, don't need to hear her, but sometimes she would use the voice and it gives the communication another dimension.
I have to go put on my ear inside the room. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
we can hear that fine, Irene. I wonder if Hanky, the form of communication for
I
them,
think them because you look like move, get over here, move,
talk
get over
back
here.
and forth by
I think
Hanky.
it's behind that
If-
kind.
if-
I think so. They're not communicating.
No.
As time went on, I saw my parents relating to each other in a new way. For so long, language for Mom and Dad had been a silent medium. Read in their lips, their faces, and their bodies. Now, there was so much more to it than that.
And they're so quiet.
I know it. Very quiet.
You can hear me talking. I need to put echoes. And so people can hear me. Can you hear me out there? Can you hear me out there? Relaxing, can never had it. You see, it's too much for me, so all day long, wore me out. So I'm resting. Took it off, rest.
For all that technology could do for Mom and Dad, the implant was a tool they both tired of easily. Sound was still a novelty. Mom and Dad treated it like a polite house guest, welcoming it in, but not quite sure what to do with it. Most days, Dad took his implant off before pouring himself a martini.
I'm just not in the mood right now. I want to be able to, focus on the paper and on the TV, the news, without being distracted.
The TV volume stayed off most of my visit, and by 4 p.m. each day, the implant usually did too.
Can you hear the engine?
No, not right now. So soft. Don't hear anything yet. I'm not tired right now.
Changes that I've been through.
I cannot take it at all.
You've been as constant as a northern star.
As much as I wanted her to hear the music, it was so good to have the old Mom back again. I think she was happy to have her back again too.
Threw away all those crazy dreams. I put them all behind, and it was you, woman, right down.
Can't hear anything. With the battery dead. Know about that. This is since December. Since December. Midnight. You're right. Come on, let's go. So good to be different today.
Late that spring, Mom and Dad went to the audiologist for their 6-month checkup.
I I want to just see if you can understand some two-part words without watching my lips, okay? Depending on how you do, then I'll make it easier, okay?
All right.
Workshop.
Racetrack.
Good. Daybreak.
Ice rink.
Baseball. Horseshoe. Eardrum. Padlock. You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Grandson.
Baseball.
Horseshoe. Eardrum. Woodwork. Scarecrow.
The audiologist may as well have been speaking a foreign language.
Birthday.
Mom and Dad have used English their whole lives,
Airplane.
but without lip reading, it made no sense to them.
Iceberg.
Garbage.
Their brains were hearing, but they weren't yet understanding.
It's true.
And without a lifetime of listening, they couldn't even repeat what they heard.
Damn it.
We sometimes talk about young brains and old brains. Young brains and young children are very, very good to learn quickly. Older brains are set in their ways, essentially, and it takes a lot longer, and you have limited success in reteaching your brain how to hear, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't relearn. It just takes longer, and the results are more limited than what we'd expect in a young child. But I think you're...
The audiologist said Mom and Dad were making good progress. But I just wondered how long they would have to get it wrong before finally getting it right.
If there's not, fine. At some point we gotta say, we've tried as much as we can, and you're doing as best that you can. I'm not ready to give up yet.
I did not think I would ever become like a hearing person communicating. But the funny thing is, after I got to see I written more than the kid. Maybe if I'd got to see 5, 7, 10 would be great. 65. But I knew that before that would happen. Why it affect me now? I don't understand. I should expect it. But I'm not sorry I got the implant. Try new things, see what I can get back. But why wait till 65 instead of kind of what? It's too late. I need 65 years more to learn to communicate. And it could be possible.
I really didn't have that much to lose. To me, as the eye just another operation, and if it doesn't work, then I'm back to square one. I'll be back. So what? I can condition myself to accept what I could, what I cannot do. if I was very sensitive to those things. I probably would have lost my family. I probably would have dropped out of college. But in the end, where did that take me?
And you know, to see then he put his hand there and make it sad. And if that really makes noise, and then it's actually quiet. But when people say calm, people say they can hear something. I didn't know that was. So now I hear it, probably. And here I hear the water. I didn't know it made that much of a sound. The water is moving. What is it hitting? Then makes sound. Okay, it's the end. And the water movement that makes a sound. That's right here.
In the end, Mom and Dad did get to hear some of those ordinary sounds we all take for granted.
Did
you have a good surgery?
What? I can't hear you. You gotta say it louder. Bridget, okay. But you can say it loud in her ear, then she might hear it. If you whisper, she won't hear it. Try to say it louder.
Project.
But you know, Dad told me this one thing. That the implant hasn't been nearly as gratifying as the TTY. I think what he meant was, that invention allowed him to be connected to other people. All this one allowed him to do was hear.
I know too many things in my mind.
like what?
Go take my medicine. Put my coat on.
Carefully do today. Oh, I thought it was the other way around. Please, I don't mind.